Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders just can't seem to catch a break. It's been a chaotic, exhausting, and at times downright demoralizing season for fans in D.C., and we're only 7 games in. Every week feels like a fresh punch to the gut. Missed tackles, offensive inconsistency, and now, injuries stacking up like a cruel joke from the football gods. And when it's your star quarterback who goes down, the entire building shakes. Jayden Daniels, the rookie sensation who's been the bright spot in what's otherwise been a roller coaster of a year, limped off the field in Week 7 against the Dallas Cowboys, clutching at his hamstring. The moment the cameras caught him grimacing, Commanders fans everywhere held their breath. Daniels headed to the locker room, never to return, leaving the rest of the game and the entire fanbase in a state of anxious uncertainty. For a team that's already teetering between potential and collapse, this was the absolute worst news at the worst possible time. Daniels wasn't just another player. He was the heartbeat, the hope, the spark that had fans daring to believe that maybe, just maybe, the Commanders were finally on an upward trajectory after years of false dawns. When the initial report came out that he'd undergo an MRI, you could practically feel the tension ripple through the fanbase. Everyone braced for the worst, a serious tear, a long rehab, another season derailed before it even found its footing. After all, that's just been Washington's luck lately. And as if the Daniels scare wasn't enough, the same game brought more misery. Defensive end Dorrance Armstrong Jr., who'd been one of the few consistent bright spots on defense this season, suffered a knee injury that turned out to be season-ending. His breakout year, his surge into being one of the league's most efficient pass rushers, all gone in an instant. You could almost hear the collective sigh of disbelief across the locker room and among fans. It's not just the injuries, it's the timing, the accumulation, the sense that every time the Commanders start to climb, something yanks them right back down into the mud. But in the middle of all that gloom, there was finally a glimmer of hope. Head coach Dan Quinn, who's been juggling this circus of adversity week after week, offered an update that brought at least a little relief to those nervously refreshing Twitter every 5 minutes. According to Quinn, the results of Daniels' MRI showed that the hamstring injury wasn't considered long-term. That was the headline everyone wanted to hear. No tear, no surgery, no out for the season. It's still unclear if he'll be ready to go in Week 8 against the Kansas City Chiefs under the bright lights of Monday Night Football, but just hearing that this wasn't a season-ending situation felt like a small miracle. Let's be honest, right now, Commanders fans are starving for any kind of good news. The season hasn't gone as planned. The record sits at 3-4, the offensive line has been inconsistent, and the defense, which was supposed to be the team's backbone, has looked disorganized without key players. So when Quinn said Daniels might only need a short recovery, you could feel a collective exhale sweep through the fanbase. Sure, it's not great that he might miss a game, but missing one game is nothing compared to missing half a season. The perspective matters. And knowing Jayden Daniels, he's probably already trying to convince the trainers to let him play. That's just who he is, a competitor to his core. According to Quinn, Daniels even wanted to go back into the Cowboys game despite clearly being hobbled. The adrenaline, the crowd, the moment, it all fuels him. But the coaching staff, to their credit, didn't take the bait. They knew better than to risk their franchise quarterback for the sake of one regular season matchup. And that's the tightrope they're walking now, balancing the urgency of the season with the long-term health of the player who represents the team's future. The next few days will tell us everything we need to know. Daniels' participation in practice will be the giveaway. If he's limited or held out entirely, that'll be the first clue that Marcus Mariota, the veteran backup, will be under center against the Chiefs. And let's be real, that's not exactly an ideal scenario. Mariota has experience, sure, but asking him to go into Arrowhead Stadium on Monday night and go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes is like asking a high school drummer to step in for Travis Barker at a Blink-182 reunion concert. It's not impossible, but it's a tall, tall order. What's worse is that the Commanders' offense hasn't exactly been firing on all cylinders, even with Daniels in the lineup. The wide receiver core is banged up, the offensive line is shaky, and without Dorrance Armstrong, the defense has lost one of its few reliable sources of pressure. Against a team like the Chiefs, who punish mistakes and thrive on momentum, that's a dangerous combination. You can almost picture Andy Reid licking his chops at the thought of attacking a weakened Washington front. And yet, this is where teams show what they're made of. This is where coaching, leadership, and locker room culture matter most. Dan Quinn came to Washington to change the mentality, to build toughness, accountability, and belief. Moments like this are when that vision is tested. Can the Commanders rally around their fallen teammates? Can they play smart, disciplined football and stay afloat until Daniels returns? Because make no mistake, the season isn't over. At 3-4, there's still a path to relevance. But that path narrows fast if they stumble into mid-season at 3-5. The fan base, for its part, has been through this before. They've lived the heartbreaks, the false promises, the rebuilding years that seem to never end. But there's something different about Jayden Daniels. Even in a limited sample size, he's shown flashes of brilliance that remind you of what could be. The deep ball touch, the quick release, the mobility that keeps defenses honest. He's the kind of quarterback who gives you a reason to turn on the TV every Sunday, even when you know the odds are stacked against you. Losing him for any amount of time feels like the soul of the offense gets ripped out. That's why the news that his injury isn't long-term feels like a lifeline. Of course, recovery is never linear. Hamstrings are tricky. Push too soon, and you risk aggravating it. Rest too long, and you lose rhythm. The Commanders' medical staff will have to find that delicate balance, and Daniels will need to fight his instincts to rush back onto the field. If sitting out one game means avoiding a month-long setback, it's the smart play. The last thing anyone wants is to see him hobbling off again in November, this time for good. Still, it's hard not to feel a mix of relief and frustration. Relief that your guy isn't lost for the season. Frustration that it even came to this. That yet another promising chapter in Washington football has to be written through the lens of injury reports and next-man-up speeches. But that's life in the NFL. It's brutal, it's unforgiving, and it doesn't care about your momentum or your hopes. One play can change everything. As the Commanders prepare for their Monday night showdown in Kansas City, the spotlight remains squarely on Jayden Daniels' status. Every update, every snippet from practice, every sideline clip will be analyzed to death by fans and media alike. If he plays, there will be hope, cautious, nervous, but real hope. If he doesn't, it's survival mode. Mariota will need to step up, the defense will need to find new heroes, and the coaching staff will need to dig deep to keep this season from spiraling. But at least now, after weeks of dark clouds, there's a crack of light. The words, "not long-term," might just be the most uplifting phrase Washington fans have heard all year. Because in a season filled with uncertainty, those few words mean everything. They mean the future, the real, long-term future of the franchise, is still intact. Jayden Daniels will be back. Maybe not this week, maybe not next, but soon. And when he does return, this team will need to rally around him like never before. Until then, all eyes are on that practice field, on that sideline, on that young quarterback who's quickly become the heartbeat of a franchise desperate for something to believe in. The Commanders' season hangs in the balance, teetering between hope and heartbreak, and once again, it all comes down to Jayden Daniels, the kid who refuses to quit, and the team that needs him now more than ever. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Terry McLaurin has finally broken his silence, and the football world is buzzing. The Washington Commanders' star wide receiver, known for his explosive plays and consistent performances, has spoken out in a way no one expected. In an interview that has already set social media on fire, McLaurin reportedly said something that is bound to create ripples throughout the NFL. Nobody on this team wants him back. The statement, pointed and sharp, has left fans, analysts, and even rival teams speculating about what is really going on behind the scenes in the Commanders' locker room. For a player of McLaurin's caliber to make such a bold statement is rare. Usually, athletes keep locker room tensions private, carefully navigating media appearances to avoid unnecessary drama. But this time, it seems McLaurin's patience has run thin, and he has chosen to speak out, regardless of the potential fallout. The words themselves have a certain weight. They suggest deep dissatisfaction and perhaps even a fractured team dynamic that could have consequences both on and off the field. While McLaurin's comments are being interpreted in multiple ways, insiders suggest that his frustration might stem from more than just typical locker room politics. Over the past few seasons, the Commanders have been through a series of changes in coaching staff, management, and roster composition, leaving even veteran players like McLaurin uncertain about the team's direction. Fans remember the moments when McLaurin carried the offense almost single-handedly, making clutch plays and proving himself time and again. Yet, the recent years have been marked by inconsistency, and some sources hint that McLaurin's patience with the front office and his teammates might finally have reached its limit. The specific McLaurin refers to in his controversial quote is reportedly a former teammate, someone whose return was rumored to be in discussion during the offseason. This unnamed player, whose identity is being fiercely debated by insiders and pundits, seems to be at the center of the tension McLaurin alluded to. The very idea that a player of McLaurin's reputation would publicly suggest that no one in the locker room wants someone back is explosive, hinting at fractures that may have been simmering quietly for months or even years. The timing of McLaurin's statement is also intriguing. The NFL is entering a critical phase where every move by teams and star players is scrutinized. Rumors of trades, contract negotiations, and strategic shifts dominate sports media cycles, but rarely do players speak so candidly. McLaurin's declaration feels almost calculated, as if he intended to send a message not just to the media, but to the team itself. Whether this is a call for accountability or a subtle warning to management remains unclear, but it undeniably puts pressure on the Commanders to address internal issues before the season intensifies. Social media reactions have ranged from shock to validation. Many fans, particularly those who have followed McLaurin's career closely, see his comments as a brave and necessary step. They argue that honesty is rare in professional sports, and when a star player like McLaurin decides to voice his concerns, it forces conversations that might otherwise remain buried under polite press statements and surface-level positivity. Others, however, are worried that the public nature of the statement could exacerbate tensions, potentially destabilizing a team that already faces competitive pressures in a tough division. Analysts are now dissecting every nuance of McLaurin's words. The phrase, "nobody on this team wants him back," is being parsed for hidden meanings and implications. Could this indicate a locker room revolt against management decisions? Is McLaurin signaling that certain teammates are refusing to cooperate or accept leadership from specific individuals? Or is this perhaps a reflection of his own frustrations and desire for change, which may involve looking for opportunities outside Washington? The ambiguity of the statement is exactly what makes it so potent as a rumor. NFL insiders thrive on moments like this, using each word to speculate about trades, locker room politics, and even potential fractures between star players and team ownership. The ripple effect is already visible as fans tweet, comment, and speculate endlessly about who he might be, why McLaurin would make such a bold claim, and what it might mean for the future of the Commanders. Meanwhile, the Commanders organization has yet to release an official statement regarding McLaurin's comments. Historically, teams tend to downplay such situations, emphasizing unity and internal resolution. However, in this case, the directness of McLaurin's words might make it difficult to simply brush off. Sources close to the team suggest that private meetings are already taking place, with coaches, management, and players attempting to navigate the tension before it spills further into the public sphere. These behind-the-scenes efforts are crucial because the NFL, as much as it thrives on drama, also demands focus, discipline, and cohesion, elements that could be jeopardized if internal conflicts are left unresolved. McLaurin, as one of the team's most talented and recognizable athletes, holds significant influence. His perspective carries weight not only with fans, but with his teammates, who may now be forced to confront issues that have previously been avoided or ignored. From a broader perspective, McLaurin's statement also fuels ongoing debates about player empowerment in modern sports. In recent years, star athletes have increasingly asserted their voices, demanding better treatment, clearer communication, and more influence over team dynamics. McLaurin's willingness to speak out aligns with this trend, demonstrating that even players deeply embedded within a franchise are not afraid to challenge the status quo. It also raises questions about the Commanders' internal culture. Is this a symptom of poor management, mismatched personalities, or deeper issues in team leadership? The answer is likely a combination of factors, but the mere existence of this kind of public declaration hints at complexities that casual observers might not immediately recognize. As the rumor mill continues to churn, speculation about potential outcomes intensifies. Could McLaurin's comments lead to trades, roster adjustments, or even coaching shakeups? Will the unnamed player at the center of his remarks be re-signed, released, or traded as a result? NFL insiders are already making predictions, some suggesting that this could spark a domino effect that reshapes not only the Commanders, but their entire division. Fans are equally engaged, debating theories on forums, social media, and sports podcasts, each trying to piece together the hidden narrative behind McLaurin's words. The story has all the elements of a classic locker room drama: tension, star power, potential betrayal, and the looming stakes of a high-pressure season. In the end, Terry McLaurin's decision to break his silence may prove to be a defining moment, not only in his career, but in the narrative of the Commanders franchise. His words, whether interpreted as a personal grievance, a warning, or a wake-up call, have already captured attention far beyond the team's immediate fan base. For those who follow the NFL closely, this is a story that demands watching, because the next moves by McLaurin, the unnamed player, and the Commanders' management could set the tone for months to come. If there is one certainty, it is that silence is no longer an option for this team. The ripples of McLaurin's statement will be felt, dissected, and debated long after the initial shock fades, making this one of the most talked-about locker room moments of the year. As fans and analysts continue to speculate, one thing is clear: Terry McLaurin has reminded the football world that even in a team sport, individual voices, when spoken with conviction, can shake foundations and ignite conversations that no press release or tweet could ever match. The NFL is watching, the Commanders are watching, and the rest of the league is listening, waiting to see what comes next. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.